Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, October 30th, 2025. So we start off with Stephanie and Alex. So Stephanie is getting ready for her big reveal, and Alex already checked out the bookshop and tells her it's ready for the big reveal, and knowing that everybody's gonna find out she's Stephanie Johnson as they just stands. I'm just excited for this to be wrapped up because I'm tired of hearing this Anastasia Sands Stephanie storyline. It's really annoying now. So anyways, she's upset because she doesn't know if it's gonna go well because she saw Jada and Jeremy and they're going out on a date. So she tells Alex the backstory about how they met online, but they're thinking it's not a coincidence and that Jeremy is using Jada to get to her. Now, at first, I'm thinking, Stephanie's just being narcissistic and they're really just jumping the gun and not really getting evidence to find out if Jeremy's really trying to stir up trouble again for her. So she ends up telling Alex this story from back in the day, what really happened between her and Jeremy, that he was doing a drinking game and it got out of control where he submerged her under the hot tub for a few seconds or minutes. And, Alex, it makes him really enraged, like to want to beat him up as well. But she said, maybe he has changed and, he was definitely um a different person back then, right? So his whole behavior was night and day. He would be charming, he'd be sweet, whatever, and then another time he'd be very abusive and aggressive, right? So anyways, Alex just feels like there's more to it and that he's there to cause trouble and he's just there to support her as well. And Stephanie just wishes that she was there to warn Jada, but she got the phone call and had to tend to it, right? So she's just hoping that the Jada comes to her senses and ends the date before it gets any more serious. So speaking of the date, it's going well between Jeremy and Jada. Like I said on yesterday's recap, that they do have chemistry. They would look really good together, but we all know that there's going to be some awkwardness when he tells her what's really going on between him and Stephanie. So they're sharing their past interests, and he tells her about what's going on with him, that he's a teacher, he has been going to therapy and all that, because he tells her that he actually knows Stephanie from the past. They used to date, and it's awkward and deja vu because again Jada shares that her and Stephanie dated the same guy, the boy's mind kind of storyline. And she just doesn't want to go down that same route. She believes he's nice and they're having a lot of fun, but at the same time her friendship with Stephanie is very important to her, and she doesn't want to jeopardize that by dating are sharing the same guy, right? So she ends the date abruptly. At some point, he's there in the square and he throws an item. So now I'm beginning to believe that, maybe this anger streak is still there with Jeremy. Maybe there's some truth to what they are alleging that he did. Now, this is another scene that really annoyed the crap out of me with Amy Choi, because she's inflicting blame on everybody else, Johnny, Chanel, EJ, and not taking responsibility for how her daughter turned out and why she's ended up at the sanitarium, right? So, he thought that she came to ask him for advice or something like that, but she came to give him a piece of her mind. So she said because of him and Johnny, her daughter is at the mental institution, and because of you, started with you, Johnny didn't adopt the baby as planned, and that caused Sophia to do what she had to do. So EJ really gave her the truth about her not being accountable and not being the mom that Sophia needed, because she had to turn out confiding in this attorney. And even Amy was saying like she needs to be held accountable, but EJ turned it around and said you need to be accountable, which I agree. Like, she's not taking no responsibility as to how Sophia turned out. If she hadn't been so nagging and self-righteous and just putting a lot of pressure on her to be this model daughter, she wouldn't have done certain things. But at the same time, Sophia has to take accountability because she knows right from wrong, and she can't blame Johnny because you know he had to do self-introspection. And EJ had to tell her that, look, it is not Johnny's fault because he found out something deep and dark about me, and that inflicted the decision to wait a little bit, really consider if he's going to be a good father figure for this baby. And now that he has come around to it and they really want to start their family, don't take it out on Johnny. Like, take it out on me. And I promise, if you really look into this thing with child services, I will stay away from Johnny and the baby, because that's what you initially wanted to happen. So she's slightly convinced, and she says, I'm not making any promises, but she walks out. So maybe she will revisit that whole thing. Now, speaking of Johnny and Chanel, right? So again, Chanel is whining for the millionth time about how, she's giving up hope about adopting Tesaro. And she's just worried that, child services won't relook into their case and that, odds are against us. So Johnny is assuring her that, look, it needs time. I'm positive that something's going to turn around. We're going to have a family one way or the other. And, Rafe vouched for her that what Sophia did was egregious. It was false accusations, and child services is going to re-look into that case. It will be fine. Chanel is still whining because at this point it's taking too long. And, she bought this Halloween outfit, and it turns out that she's probably counting her eggs before they hatch and everything. And she wants Johnny to put down the crib because she just hates to stare at false hope, really. And he said, I'll take it down when I come home. So they're there, and, they become intimate at some point. Chanel gets a message from Lonnie about the twins in Halloween outfits. And again, she is just whining over the fact that they won't bring this little boy home. I mean, there's other kids to adopt. Stop fixating on Tesaro. And honestly, part of me hopes that somebody else gets him because it's just really annoying. They're treating this baby like a prize, like, it's a piece of meat. Like, stop. Now, Kat and Aaron are back at home, and Aaron is kind of on edge, but he's supposed to do a tour because that's his job. He's in this weird Halloween costume, and he gets a notification that the DNA results are in. So, Kat took a look at it because he was too nervous, and she tells him that he's the father of Sophia's baby. So, it has really shocked him. He said he knows that if Tate wasn't the father, he probably is the other option. And to hear it really come out, like, he just feels all kind of feelings about it. And he just, he's just saying that after one careless decision, this happened, this mistake happened. I said, children are no mistake. It's just you guys that needed to be careful, right? Or just abstain, honestly. So he's just thinking about, yeah, he's going to give up his rights anyways, but it just hit him like a ton of bricks. And he's just really conflicted about everything. And Kat said that she's gonna be there for him regardless, every step of the way. I'm just saying he's saying that he's not even 21 to drink, so he's talking about that and saying you consider that part, but what about actually not abstaining from sex? Really, that should be what you think about. Like, they think that it's the end of the world, if they raise a child at a young age. Like, that when you lay down with somebody, it's a possibility that a baby might happen. Might as well you just don't do anything in the first place. If you have that analogy that you are not old enough to drink, maybe abstain from sex. If you know that you're gonna do that, be careful about it, right? Aaron ends up doing his job. He's gonna be the tour guide before Halloween, and he talks to Leo for a bit. So they introduced each other, and Leo said that he has to write a piece in Spectators, so he asks Aaron for the pamphlet on information about the tour. So he introduces himself, and he realizes that he may be the possible father of Tesaro. So he said, turns out I actually am. So he said, what is your plans regarding Tesaro, right? So before they could get into that, a group of people, I guess they're there for the tour, came, and of course Leo and Adam are reunited. We remember Adam from the time of the trial where he had to room in with him, and Adam was really incessantly annoying, and Leo cannot stand him. We found somebody more annoying than Leo, and even Leo had to say, "Oh my gosh, like, can we just get this over with?" So it was really comedic relief for today's episode. They go around, Aaron is talking about the whole tour and some, sites and everything, and Adam feels very annoyed and says that it's really boring and he wants to take over. So he goes to the mayor mansion, and Aaron is saying that we're trespassing and maybe we shouldn't be here. So Adam goes over to the mausoleum, and assuming that Stefano may be alive and there's something going on. He talks about the whole possession of Marlene and that she was a nutty shrink. And of course, Leo talked as offensive about that because he is growing close to her as best friends, and she is a respected psychiatrist, right? So anyways, he didn't find nothing in the mausoleum, and then he was saying maybe need to check out something that's probably undead. And Aaron is saying that, look, we need to go get out of here, right? So Kat is in the square, and she has more things on her in terms of makeup and the cat ears, and EJ notices that, and it seems as if Kat is just occupied with what's going on Aaron. So EJ asked her if there's anything that he can do. She said, "You've done enough already for my family." So anyway, she does come clean about Aaron being the father of Sophia's baby. And he said, "On that note, can I ask you a big favor?" So I've actually had an insightful conversation with Amy Choi. She said that she will really look into actually making Johnny and Chanel adopt the baby. But I want to ask you to ask your brother if he was willing to give up his parental rights and have them the chance to adopt his baby. So that's where it ended with them. So back to Stephanie and Alex. Jada comes over and talks to them about the date, right? So, anyways, um, Jada found out that Stephanie and Jeremy used to date, and she heard a lot about him and his past, and she ended the date abruptly because she doesn't want to go down that road, and their friendship matters more to her. So, anyways, Stephanie said, he may be up to his old ways, and maybe he was the one who actually outed her pseudo identity to Leo, and also maybe he was the one that, specifically chose her as his date, right? It just doesn't seem to add up. It seems weird, right? Because even Jada was saying it's a coincidence, and she doesn't want to go down that road dating the same person. So, anyways, Jada asked her, like, what really went down between you guys, because I didn't really hear that part. So Stephanie shared again what happened in the past between her and Jeremy, and she's sorry that that happened to her. She's just finding out about it, Alex as well, because she only told a few people, not even her parents, what really went down. So she said, it happened so many years ago, but it's triggering her because he's back in town again, and the actions that have been happening, she's assuming that it's him, so she's on the edge, right? So anyways, Alex wanted to beat him up, and Stephanie said, no, we don't have any proof, so let's just be wary and see what's going on. And Jada said that she would definitely be observing him a lot closely now that she knows a little bit more about him, and Alex as well. So that was really it for today's episode. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Let me know. I will see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.